My name is Corey Edwards, and this is my Visual Basic project for APE 205. I did a program that compared scores for two players using an online free Tetris game. And over in this text box, it explains what the spreadsheet does, and it gives you the link to the website for playing Tetris. So I have it pulled up. Here is this free Tetris website. And if you were to use this spreadsheet, you would come here and click enter. Always start on level 1 for the way that I've set it up, and you play the game. And you just can play a regular simple game of Tetris. Standard rules and such. So I'm just going to finish it. And so when you finish it, it gives you the level that you made it to, the score that you reached, and the number of lines that you broke. And that is the important data for the spreadsheet. So after each time you play, you can either write that down or record it in a spreadsheet, or you can have the user form open in the spreadsheet that I've made and keep adding in this data. So these are the three things that you need. So going back to the spreadsheet. So here I already have it finished, but I'm going to have it clear. Here is some sample data that I have collected from playing the game 10 times, 5 times for each player, and I recorded each score, the level I made it to, and the number of lines I broke. So for when player 1 is playing their rounds, they click on the player 1 button. It will open up this user form with the caption player 1. It's actually the same user form for both player 1 and player 2. It just depends on which button you click, changes the caption of the user form. So you can enter in a name. So I'm going to enter in my name, and then the scores and the levels and the rest of the data. So level 9 and 87 lines, 4,980, level 4, 32 lines. You can see why you might not want to write them all down. You might want to just play the game and add them as you go. Level 3 and 20 lines. And then there's the enter and the cancel button. The cancel button will close this, and then the enter button will pop up a message box that says welcome and then the name that you entered, and it will give you a score summary. It will calculate the averages of all the data that you entered, so the average score, the average level you reached, and the average lines you destroyed, and it shows it in this message box. And when you click OK, it will close the user form and put the data from the message box right here, and then we'll also spit out the data that you entered into the user form in this box right here. So all the scores that you entered, all the levels and the lines, we'll put it in this box. And then you would do the same thing for player 2. Player 2 would go through and I'll enter in the name, and they'll go through and they'll enter all the information, and here I'll demonstrate that the cancel button closes the user form. And see, it's the same user form, it just says player 2 up here instead. So then player 2 would enter in their scores. Oops. 627. Oop, level 7. 69. Six, 2, 4, 8, 27, 8, 75 lines. And then enter, shows you the message box, and then OK, and it will put the information here and here. So looking at this, you can compare between the player 1 and player 2 and see which player on average did better. So it looks like player 2 did a lot better than player 1. The average score was almost twice as high, pretty much twice as high. The average level reach was 7.8 compared to 6, and 74.6 lines were broken compared to 53.4. And down here we'll show you the overview of all the rounds. And then right below that we'll have show and hide buttons that will show you the comparison between player 1 and player 2 and the progress that they made over all the 5 rounds. So these graphs are already made, they're just hidden. So if you click this one, it will show you the score comparison between player 1 and player 2, and it shows you their names. So player 1 is the blue one, and it shows you the progression of how well they did and how high they scored over the 5 rounds. And then here's player 2. And then here's the level that each player reached over time through each round. And then here are the comparison between the number of lines that each player broke through each round. And you can see if you were entering in your information versus somebody else, you'd be able to see like maybe one person did really well at first and bad at the end, or the other way around, or really well in the middle. You just be able to see this comparison, and this can be applied to a lot of different games and a lot of different things. And I just chose Tetris as a simplified version with 5 rounds to show you progression over time. So that's pretty much it. So I have my sample data over here if you want to go through and enter that in, or you can go through and play 5 rounds for each player, or just you can do this with one player and it would just show you the data for one player. So if I go this, I can clear out the data for player 2, and you can go in and you can look at the graph, and you can see how just one player progresses over time, and it won't have the data for the second player, and you can look at your average. So that's basically it.